Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and hope everybody's doing well, and really appreciate you guys making some time to watch today's video. We're going to be talking about professional bass fishing, losing another one of the greatest veterans that ever had, one of the greatest all-time anglers that's ever had. You know, it seems like we're seeing a lot of them just exiting the sport, so I want to go over that in today's video and give you guys some commentary on this, because I think there's a lot more that lies below the obvious surface on these departures that we're seeing. So we're going to get into that in today's episode. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. I'd like to invite everybody to please consider hitting that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. Free and easy to do so, man. You can unsubscribe anytime you want to. We're really trying to hit that 150,000 subscriber mark, and that'd be big help if you guys could hit that. And also, guys, big thank you from me and my family. I wanted to extend everybody that's been using all the links I put in each video description. If you guys have used and bookmarked all those links in there, you're the reason this channel's on YouTube. So I really appreciate that, and my family does too. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, if you didn't see it, Skeet Reese announced his retirement yesterday from professional fishing, which is a big deal. Skeet Reese is arguably one of the greatest bass fishing, bass anglers in the history of the sport. I would definitely put Skeet Reese for sure in the top, in the top 20 as far as the greatest all-time anglers out there. And that's saying a lot, because there's been a lot of great anglers. And the consistency that he's shown through the years to qualify for classics and championships, win events, win the Bassmaster Classic, he's just been one of the most consistent anglers, we've ever had. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this, about Skeet's retirement and a lot of the other retirements that we've seen. We've seen Van Dam, we've seen Clun, we've seen a bunch of the superstars exiting the sport over the past couple of years. And I'm not speaking for these guys, I'm speculating, but I have heard it from several people that, for some of them, probably a lot of them to some extent, a lot of these retirements you're seeing is simply because of spotlighting for bass forward-facing sonar. These guys understand that the decades that they have learned as far as honing their craft and honing the art form that they have in fishing, those skills are useless now. Most of the time, 95% of the time. There's going to be 5% of the tournaments out there where things line up absolutely perfect and somebody can do good or win a tournament without that dang forward-facing sonar. But for the most part, the skills that they have mastered, like the skills that Skeet has had, the skills Clun had, the skills that Van Dam had, the skills that Brower had, all those skills, they're useless now. Because when you have a piece of technology like forward-facing sonar that allows anglers to succeed in the sport without having bass fishing skills, which it is, but make no mistake about it, guys, bass fishing, the art form of bass fishing and the skill that it takes to catch bass has nothing to do with your ability to use electronic technology, because that is nothing but a crutch that creates an illusion that somebody's a good angler. And I don't want to hear it. A lot of the guys say, oh, these guys are just as good, and they would, if they didn't have forward-facing sonar, they'd still be good and do good in tournaments. Bullshit. That wouldn't happen, because you cannot be a master of bass movement and bass behavior and seasonal patterns if you spend all your time looking at that dang screen on your video game. You can't hone those skills, because those are skills that take decades to acquire. Not only do they take decades to acquire, but they take the step that you have to apply those techniques to waters all across the country, because every body of water is unique to itself. You got different water clarities, you got tidal rivers, you got man-made impoundments, you got, natural bodies of water, you got grass, you got wood. There's just an endless amount of variables to that. That is why historically you've seen very few young anglers excel through the time of traditional bass fishing up until 3 or 4 years ago. They'd come up once in a while, but for the most part, the veterans excelled, even when they got up in their 40s and 50s. Now, one of the things about Skeet, I'll say, is like, if you guys have seen, I've seen some of the videos he's put out, and you can tell that he's critical of forward-facing sonar and the impact that it's having on the sport. I have heard several videos of him doing that. So that's what makes me think that I may or may not be. I'm just speculating at this point, but that may or may not be part of the equation. I personally think that it is, along with a lot of them. And that's sad. It's like when you're an angler and you're getting pushed out of the sport by technology, and that technology does not have to be there because it's only in place because of money, then that is just pathetic. I mean, that is an insult to the sport. It's an insult to the veterans of the sport. It's an insult to the tradition and the heritage of the sport, and it's got to stop. Now, I'm confident that it is on the way to stop, because you guys have been watching the channel. You know that there's been a turnaround in this whole shift about forward-facing sonar. There was a lot of like acceptance and apathy, and like, you know, just people say, well, you know, if you don't want to use it, don't use it. No big deal. They didn't care. But what has happened is we've reached this precipice that basically started last summer, where it has become such a negative, dominant force in the sport that is created outrage amongst the majority of the bass fishing population. They don't want to see it. Co-anglers are dropping out of tournaments like flies because they don't want to get stuck behind that. People don't want to watch it. And people are sick about veterans getting pushed out of the sport, you know, and that's what we've seen. And this change has taken place as we speak, and it's a movement, and it's going to continue to be that movement. So hang in there, guys. I'm confident within the next year to 3 years, we're going to have pretty much a ban on forward-facing sonar and competitive fishing. There's no other option to that. There's too much opposition to it. And even though that you have these electronic companies throwing tons of money to the tournament organizations, there comes a point where that's not even worth it. When you're losing your base and you're losing your support and you're losing other sponsors because, you know, their products aren't moving because nobody wants to watch somebody staring at a screen, then they have to make some type of a change. And so that change is on its way. But anyway, let me know what you guys think, and we'll check in later.